Good afternoon. Welcome to another edition of the 411 Talk Zone radio show. My name is Leon Jones. This afternoon's topic: Black man versus black man, and why we will always be divided. Now, when we talk about black people, particularly in the YouTube sector, many of us who are the brothers on YouTube always talk about the sisters and their behavior. And yes, you have some out here on YouTube who have a bad behavior. But one of the reasons why I don't address black women about their behaviors because I'm not a black woman. Their job is to address each other. My job is to address some of these black men. Now, the problem that I see with black men is we don't know how to disagree with each other without being emotional and violent toward one another. We don't understand that in the world we can have different views, different ideologies without utilizing ad hominem attacks toward those to whom you disagree with. The problem with most black men, and this is the biggest issue, is we don't know how to get along with each other. We will never get along with each other because we let our egos and narcissism get in our way. We always want to be at the top of the mountain by ourselves. Now, in the real world, you must understand that to get to the top, you had to be at the bottom. In other words, to be a good leader, you must have been a good follower. In the workplace, when I've worked with black men, they were very hard to work with because I was always bumping heads with them. If I had an idea that went against their idea, they didn't want to hear me because they took everything that I was saying personal, thinking I was putting them down. That was a sign of insecurity. But if you look at black men in general, we've had some powerful black men. You look at the rap game when we had Biggie Smalls and Tupac. Well, they were powerful forces. But with the East Coast battle and the West Coast battle, what happened to both of them? They got beefing, and they're both digging up daisies. Again, Brother Guy King mentioned this in his video. If Suge Knight and Puffy Combs got together, a record company could have been formed, which would have been much larger than Motown. You had other leaders, Martin Luther King and Malcolm X. Although they differed when it came to philosophical beliefs, they both had a common goal, but they didn't know how to get together. You have Dr. Umar Johnson and General Seti. Both of those men come from two different backgrounds, but they have a common goal. Then you had Tommy Sotomayor and Tariq. These are black men who can make a difference, but they will never make a difference because they're always at odds with one another, and they don't have to be at odds with one another. And that's the same way when it comes to YouTube. Starting from the time when you had individuals like Monty Woodgrain all the way to now. What are we doing on YouTube? We're beefing. And we're doing that because a number of us don't understand what competition is. This is why we can't do business with each other. And this is why the black community will not be built. You can't expect black women to do it because it's not their job to do it. And I know we blame black women for picking the wrong men, but black men picked the wrong women. You know, David Carroll said this in one of his videos, and I'm a subscriber to David Carroll. He said, and this is true, and I see it myself. Certainly there's racism out here, but the big problem with a number of black people in general is we can solve 80% of our own problems. But we fail to do so. Why? Because we're always looking for somebody to tell us what to do. And unfortunately, what I'm going to say is probably going to sting some of you emotional black people. We make good slaves. And I say that is because we're always the ones who are doing the work. We never manage the work. And I can see why we never manage the work, because we don't have the skills to do it. That's why we make good slaves. This is why we will never have an economy. But when you have a community with men not leading and women are just existing, you're going to have a lot of dysfunction. You're going to have a lot of violence. You're going to have a lot of babies being born out of wedlock, public housing. Certainly there's systemic racism, but you can't blame everything on systemic racism. You have to blame it on yourself as an individual. I mean, we have individuals from the street versus academia. We have individuals who want to be alpha, some want to be beta. We have some who are simping. We have some who have embraced feminism. We have a number of black men who have embraced a homosexual lifestyle. And guess what? With all those groups, they're butting heads. Why? Because they think they're always right. That's the problem. If I am an African American Republican going against an African American Democrat, we will never get along. And the Democrat is always going to shout me down. And the problem with a number of us, particularly on the Democratic left, is we are too emotional and we don't know how to reason. Therefore, we slander each other with preposterous personal attacks or ad hominem attacks. And if you look at the state of the black community, certainly we live in a modern world, but our mindset is not modern. Our mindset is still tribal. Certainly, you had groups such as Public Enemy, you had Black Panther. They gave us that wishful thinking on what blacks can do as a community. Now, there was only one time in history that I know, and this was back in the 1920s, where black people who actually lived under systematic racism had something, and that was known as Black Wall Street. They did work together. But since that time, we have never worked together. And if we don't know how to communicate with each other as black men, if we don't know how to disagree with each other as black men, if we don't know how to understand economics, politics, academia, street life, then we don't have a community. And what you have is a island of individuals who are the walking dead. Because basically, you have people who are preachers out there. They don't get along. Think Al Sharpton and Jesse Jackson get along? No, they don't get along either. So if you believe that these powerful people who actually could make a difference don't get along, what do you think is going to happen with the everyday black people. Because if you look at what we beef about, it's over something small. We take everything personal. And if we didn't take everything so personal, guess what? The amount of homicides in the urban areas such as Baltimore, Chicago, Detroit, Houston, LA, New York, Boston, Fort Lauderdale would be reduced. We allow ourselves to be taken advantage of by other races of people because we don't know how to protect ourselves. There are a number of us who are on YouTube, both black and white, who are uplifting white folk. Now, granted, there are a number of white folk out there who are dysfunctional, but one thing I can say about white folk, they do get on board and they work with each other. And white folk utilize the 6 degrees of separation. They know how to separate the good stuff from the junk. And that's quoted from Houdini's 5 Minutes of Funk that was released back in 1984 on the Jive record label. But moving on, as black men, we have to learn how to disagree, and we have to stop it with this intrinsic, wishful nuts and berries thinking that everything is going to be all right. Everything is not going to be all right. Black people sold each other into slavery well before there was slavery. Hell, Africans sold black people to Middle Easterns before there was slavery. Again, you had some blacks who were slave owners themselves. Not a high percentage, but you had some blacks. When we look at all the problems of what's going on, certainly I always have to blame it on the men, and I'm much harder on the men because men have to learn how to be leaders. Unfortunately, it's a generational cycle because I'm from the Generation X generation. If you didn't have a good dad in your life, you as a man, you're not a man. All you are is a boy who occupies a male adult body. You look at a number of men today. You look at how they act. Men today act very feminine. But when it comes to black men, we've embraced everything except for ourselves. Now, is it going to stop? I don't believe it's going to stop at all. It's just realistic. Certainly, many of us show flourishes of making money, but even the music that we make today is bad music. Again, going back to the rap game, what do we talk about? We talk about beefing. And we talk about beefing over women, drugs, money. And what we beef over is very senseless. You look at the gangs out there, the Crips and the Bloods. They were fighting over territory that they really don't own. The taxpayers own that street. Certainly you have to defend your neighborhood. But the problem is, the Crips and the Bloods, they were fighting over colors. It made no sense. And when you make no sense as a black man, and other races of people are watching you, do you think for one moment they're going to put you in a position of power? You look in Congress right now, there's the Congressional Black Caucus. I don't hear anything from them except what they're told to say. And somebody's telling them, continue to preach racist rhetoric, that blames the white man. And you'll continually be in office. And see, a lot of these individuals in the Congressional Black Caucus are in areas where they're ignorant black people. And why are they ignorant? Because they come from dysfunctional families, the school systems. They put ignorant teachers in their school systems. And everybody running the school system in a black area knows the students are ignorant. But yet still, they pat them on the head and send them through. And when they get out in the real world, particularly the ones who are black men, what happens to these black men? You have some who go off to college, but a number of them go to jail or die because they don't have any positive male role models. Too many black men are sitting at home playing PlayStation, not working. They could care less about school, but they want to be rappers. They want to be ballers. Some of them want to be DJs. Some of them want to be athletes. But at the end of the day, everybody isn't talented to be in those positions. But even if you were talented, you have a number of athletes who talk about each other. And the worst thing that is problematic is when not only do we talk about each other, we disrespect each other. We'll absolutely say things about each other that aren't true. We'll talk about each other's wives. We'll talk about each other's houses. See, the problem with a number of black men is we're too envious of each other. That's why I call this video Black Man versus Black Man. Because the person that we should be competing with has the chains on us. But we fail to deal with the person who's got the chains on us, so we go deal with each other. And what do we gain by dealing with each other? Nothing. Because for the most part, most black people don't have anything of wealth because we're consumers. But when it comes to black men in power, it's funny. They relate on the same level that somebody from the street relates to. And what I mean, angry, violently. You got preachers who want to go at it. And we love to do it in public so everybody can see it. And at the end of the day, we're getting laughed at because we're being ignorant toward one another. And this is why other races don't want to deal with us. And I'm being hard on the black men because black men should be men. They should be leading. The black men who came before us, certainly they had beefs as well. The problem with we black men is we don't like each other. And it shouldn't be that way. But it's always going to be that way. And the reason why we don't like each other because as an individual, we don't like ourselves. And we always want to say something to the other person thinking that our opinion is greater than their opinion. And I'm talking about the other black person's opinion. And if we don't walk lockstep and barrel with what they say, and that's the other black man, we're called what? A coon. And this happens in politics all the time. If you are a conservative black man and you go against a liberal black man, the liberal black man is always going to be the first one to call you a name. And that's a feminine trait. And that's what's wrong with black men. We want to associate ourselves by giving us these labels of self-promotion or self-destruction, but at the end of the day, we're all the same. We don't want to communicate with each other. We don't want to compete against each other. Competition is very good, particularly in the business world, because it allows choices. All we do as black people, and this is why we make good slaves, we'll go work hard for other people except ourselves. But when we go spend money, we won't spend money in our own neighborhood. We'll spend money in other neighborhoods. Why? Because all we have in our neighborhood is monuments of failure known as churches, bad schools. We have Middle Easterns and Korean people coming into our neighborhood, selling their products, and once they get the money from us, they go into their neighborhoods. And what happens to us? Before we bought products from other people, we were poor. And after we buy products from other races of people, we're poor. So the bottom line, when it comes to black men just don't know how to connect dots. We don't have critical thinking skills, most of us. And a number of us are angry. That's why we're on social media, basically utilizing this platform to get our anger out, because a number of us are angry. I guarantee when we get out in the real world, many of us are still going to carry that baggage with us. And I did a video yesterday on baggage. If you don't leave your baggage behind, you will never move forward. And black people have been carrying baggage for centuries, and we're going to keep carrying it. And no matter how many of us put the word out, nobody is listening, because we're too caught up thinking about ourselves and what we want. We always want to be the first to achieve something instead of being a community to grow something. If you want to make it in the real world as a black man, you got to understand your role as a man. You have to go to positive role models. Now that's wishful thinking, because in the black community, there are basically no positive role models. So where do most black men get their positive influence? From gangbangers, from criminals. And I'm not saying everybody from the street is bad, but if you conduct business with that type of element, you may not be around long enough to understand what life has to offer. Because when you deal with the element of crime, you risk dying. If you don't believe me, you look at the individuals in these urban areas. Again, Chicago, Baltimore, New York, Boston, LA, the list keeps going on and on. But as black men, if we don't get rid of this tribalistic attitude, there may become a day where the black race would become extinct. Why? Because just like Brother Obsidian said, black men and black women don't get along. And I'm not going to say in most cases, because I don't know all black men and black women. But based on the social media, the YouTube platform, black men and black women don't get along. In the real world, I believe it's different. But what I do know when it comes to black men is we don't have any courage against any other race of people. But when it comes to our own race, we'll stand and go toe to toe with another black man, even if it's a silly reason. So the only thing that I can say in this video is, if you're a black man watching this, don't get upset with me for telling you the truth. Start by assessing your own life and making changes that are going to help you succeed in the real world. The first thing you need to start off with is understand your roles and responsibilities as a man, then understand your worth, get some education, get a trade, stop chasing women, stop knocking women up and being irresponsible for the women you knock up, because when you do that, you bring more poverty and criminals into the black community, and the cycle continues on and on and on and on. Government checks aren't a way of life. Violence isn't a way of life. And if you believe it's a way of life, then you're definitely uninformed. Because I don't want to live in that lifestyle to where I have to look over my shoulder because somebody is coming after me because I stepped on their foot. I'm wearing the wrong color. I'm hearing some rap lyrics that are influencing me to go out and shoot somebody over a woman. If you're a black man, don't call me a coon. If your life is messed up and you don't know how to communicate, learn to communicate, learn to disagree. Because I'm not the one who's a coon. You're the coon for calling me a coon because you can't refute what I'm saying. Well, instead of trying to refute what I'm saying, understand what I'm saying. And you present something counter so I can understand what you're saying. If you want to get rid of the tribalistic attitude, black man, you have to understand your own self, your own mental state. And you have to admit that you have mental issues. Because we all carry some baggage, believe it or not. It's how you deal with the baggage. The state of the black man is never going to change unless we change it. We can present all the videos, all the messages from church, all the positivity that's very intrinsic, but at the end of the day, we as individual black men have to want to change. Is it going to happen overnight? No. Can it happen? Certainly. But you got to want it to happen. But until then, look at the state of the black man that's in America today. And if you don't believe me with what's going on, take a look at it for yourself. And it's my commentary for this edition of the 411 Talk Zone radio show for this afternoon, Saturday, March 3rd, 2018. You can tune in to the 411 Talk Zone radio show every Saturday from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. on Blog Talk Radio. Guest call-in number is 215-383-5785. We are going to have a special Blog Talk Radio show tomorrow starting at 3 Eastern Time. Matt Coley and I are hosting it. Matt Coley is going to present his part, Can You Date a Woman with Baggage? And then I'm going to come back with my part. Men embrace feminism because they have vagina phobia. You don't want to miss that show. If you want to call in, The number is 215-383-5785. If you want to get on the air, press number 1 to get into the queue. On that note, if you like my videos, please share and subscribe to the 411 Talk Zone radio show right here on YouTube so I can continue to present quality information for educational purposes from a professional, mature perspective. Now, on my channel, I don't engage in drama, emotional issues, or debates, nor do I participate in unnecessary bickering. Why? Because when you get emotional about a topic and you can't refute it and you have ad hominem attacks, then the conversation is counterproductive. What I'm here to do on my channel is teach. I want to help you understand how the real world works. That's why I present my topics from realistic but positive perspective. Because when you have knowledge, you have power. And also my job is to get you to understand how the real world works, just like this topic, black man versus black man. If you understand what's going on, you will succeed. If you don't, you're going to continue to fail. And if you have a business, a topic, or a new YouTube channel that you would like for me to discuss on YouTube or Blog Talk Radio, please email me at lej6521@gmail.com. And if you have a comment, please list your comment in the comment section of the video. But make sure that your comments are pithy. No bloviating, pettifogging, or filibustering. If you wish to opine. Now that's it for this video. Till next time, my name is Leon Jones. Remember, please be gentle and respectful to each other, and have a wonderful and blessed day.